Hello, everyone. Welcome to an episode of In My Opinion. My name is
My
John,
name is Lester.
And my name is JianHao. Hi, what's up, guys?
and today we are privileged, to have someone who is very special to join us. Honestly, right, we were when we shouted him out on social media, right, we were not expecting to get a reply, but look who's here. Okay, so we have JianHao Tan with us. Okay, I believe this man needs no introduction, but I mean, for the benefit of people who are joining us for the first time and or using YouTube for the first time, right? Jian, would you like to do a short introduction about yourself and tell us a little bit more about what you do?
I'm JianHao and I make videos. Yep.
Succinct. Okay, so maybe I just share with you all a little bit more to give you a little bit more background about JianHao lah. Okay, so I like to label him as one of the more OG YouTube creators of Singapore. Yeah, so it's like having a social media big brother right now with us, and then he's here to share with us a little bit more about what he thinks about the scene, about whatever it is surrounding his content creation. Because I believe this is a man with a lot of wisdom to share, and that's why we have him here today.
Yeah, and I think like JianHao, like he's known for his main channel content. I mean, he has 4 million subscribers, but I think little known is that there are a lot of other like channels that he actually is like managing as well, like Trev Monkey or like Ladies First, and all these other channels that are a little
Yeah.
bit like I would say a bit different from what people immediately think of when you mention the name JianHao.
Well, firstly, I would firstly, sorry,
Yeah, no problem.
sorry to cut you, but firstly, I just want to say I watched your podcast, the one about me, and I think that you guys are so intelligent, and I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this as well, because to have a real conversation, because you guys are really intelligent. Like what a intelligent conversation you guys had about the whole scene, and I thought Sneaky Sushi did a pretty decent job breaking down what and why I do, right? But you guys just completely rationalized it, and well done.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
just wanted to acknowledge and give you guys props for that. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. We just like to think that we want to give people the right perspective, of the fair perspective, especially because it's very
Mm.
easily to get sucked up into your own emotional discussions without understanding what exactly is going on. And I want
Yeah.
to acknowledge the fact that you mentioned about Sneaky Sushi's video that came out recently, because I thought he did a fantastic job, and I'm
Yeah.
glad that we share a similar understanding. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's great. Okay, so shall we dive into today's topics proper?
Yes.
Sure, let's go.
Awesome. Okay, Alistair, would you like to come up with our first question and we can discuss it a little bit more?
Yes, I would like to do that. Okay, so I think like a lot of people, a lot of the misunderstanding or like the hate coming towards it, how maybe is coming from a fact that they don't understand like the process of like YouTube or like the process of like making sketches or anything like that. They think it's very
Mm-hmm.
easy or they don't understand the behind the scenes stuff. So I think the whole conversation will be
Mm-hmm.
will be like shedding a bit more light about like the process and the hardships that everyone's go through. So I think the first
Sure.
question will be when you're scripting your main channel content, like what do you
Yeah.
like look out for? What's your thought process like when you're trying to script a new video?
Well, look out for virality.
Okay.
Um, on how viral it can go. As a YouTuber, of course, you want views, right? So I think that is one of the more important things. And then the trends, what trends can it hit? Let's say let's say if we were to do a like last year, or okay, let's say Christmas. We see what memes or whatever people are talking about during Christmas. We touch on those topics. So that's how we fit it in. Then of course there's a story. Um, Contrary to popular belief, not every of our videos are the same. We actually have a story. So sometimes there may be overlapping ideas because we are talking about the same character. It's not only a format, but it's a genre. I would say it's a whole new genre that I created. It's literally a web series, but it's also videos on its own that people can watch and catch up with. I've done web series before, and I didn't want to continue because when you start at something like for example, I can name the whole series the Titan Academy, episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. And you know what's going to happen? Episode 1 is going to get a lot of views, episode 2 a little bit less, episode 3 less, and that's how it's going to go. That is the graph for every single web series on YouTube. Most web series. And so by me naming types of this, types of that, 12 students in the kitchen, something like this, it gives people a reason to click without having to watch at any point. And that's what you want for your audience. And that's how you get new audience to let them come in. Like for example, Avengers do an amazing job at creating every movie so that any new viewer can just come in and catch up with the series without having to watch the previous movies. So that's sort of what I try to do. So yeah, virality, trends, and story.
I think that's great because I think what you highlighted there is really really important in the sense that like people don't need to play catch up. They don't need to watch something and then wonder to their friends, hey, what's this inside joke moment that I do not get? And I think that is very very important.
Yeah,
Being in order to be relevant for a lot of times because
exactly.
I we hate to admit it, but like attention spans are definitely getting shorter. People don't want to have to go backwards just to go forward.
I mean, we are on YouTube. The YouTube attention span is not a secret, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that it's still very interesting that you chose types of as the format, because I mean,
Well, I didn't choose it.
okay, then what's the thought
I
process
didn't
behind it?
choose it. So I would say many years ago, maybe if you call me OG, then people like NOC, Genie Boy TV. Back then, it wasn't Singapore scene. It was Singapore and Malaysia scene,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So because the audience was so small at the time, we shared the same audience. So Genie Boy, the Ming Ting, Dan Koo, Germani from Malaysia side, and from our side, me, NOC, Wa Banana. Clearly what worked was types of this, types of people, types of magician, types of this. Obviously, even me during that time, right? I was like, I was looking at some of these YouTubers. I'm like, eventually they're gonna run out of something, right? You got types of magician, types of air stewardess. What else you gonna come up with? So if you notice, my video is not just uh types of something. It's really uh basically it's stereotyping people on a certain topic. So for example, let's say I do types of people during quarantine. I People can hate all they want, but let me tell you, it's a damn clickable title and people gonna watch it. Yeah.
I will not
Okay.
disagree with that.
Let me anyway. Um, that's how everything started. We at that time we felt like somehow this worked, so we did it, and NOC went on to continue doing more Singaporean content, and then they branched out in their own channel doing Food King and stuff. Wa Banana, indeed, well, they sort of shifted a little and then focused more on the Singapore crowd, I would say. And then there's me who, like Sneaky Sushi said, hit out to the global audience, which is it's a lot of global audience.
So you would say that the
Really.
types of
And-
like format is not just a Singapore thing, but it's more of like a global trend that is still existing. That's why it's still working.
Yeah, of course. I mean, when people say Singaporeans only do types of, right? It's not Singaporean YouTubers. It's YouTubers. YouTubers all over the world do it.
Okay.
Just go onto the YouTube bar, search types of. Not just me, even though I'm gonna be probably the first. A lot of others if you scroll down. And that's something that people just don't realize. I mean, of course, it's really easy to bash Singaporean YouTubers and say that continue with the same narrative. It's always the same, right? But if you realize it's not just Singapore, it's YouTubers because it is not a types of thing. It's not. It's I mean, it is a criticism, but types of is a listicle. There's a psychology behind it, you know. So
what's
like how memes is literally a short form of a joke, right? And with a with a picture, pretty much that's what it is. And why has jokes evolved to this state? I mean, why have jokes evolved to memes? I mean, ask all the stand-up comedians, they craft such a long story to tell a joke to get that punchline. Why a meme just bam in your face? Because of attention span, because of our generation. We are the internet generation, and if people don't keep up, then that is their choice. But that's how the audience consumes content now, and it's even though it's been we've been doing listicles for a while, it's not an outdated ideology.
okay?
Like if you see articles, magazines, self-help especially, these kind of contents, they will always put things in listicles. So I mean, that's my perspective lah.
Okay, that makes sense.
I totally agree. In fact, like I
Mm.
personally, right, I feel that I am more of a consumer as much as I create content as well, right? But like I'm very much more a consumer than someone that produces content. And I would like to
Mhm.
say that this type of listicle contents, this type of listicle format of content, is not just
Mhm.
restricted to just relatable scenarios in people's lives. Especially when it talks about, like, for example, I'm very passionate about gaming. So like when I play
Yeah.
video games, right, I realize one of the things that people like to do as well is like types of like a certain type of character or types of like if let's say let's give an
Mhm.
example of Maple Story, types of thieves. And then I realized that these
Yeah.
are the videos that always make it to the top of charts. So I don't doubt that
Mhm.
there's some psychological effect going on right here, and I don't doubt that
Yeah.
it
Well,
works.
it's less intimidating and it's also easily digestible. So that's the psychology behind it. And I mean, even though there is this article from Relevance that talks about how even though the length may be the same, if you present it in a if you present it in a listicle way, it may be much easier because there is a focus. It's like
Mm.
okay, so this is something I always tell my team, right? Besides creating great content, you gotta greatly sell your great content.
Okay.
For example, a great title, a great thumbnail. For example, if I am a salesman, right, and if I tell you like 3 reasons why you should buy this mouse, you're gonna listen to all 3 of my reasons, and then you are gonna remember, oh, reason 1, it fits the hand well. Reason 2, it's not that expensive, cheaper than all the mouses in the market. And number 3, I don't know, it looks good. You're gonna remember that. But if I say all to you at once, there's a high chance it's gonna get lost somewhere.
Okay, that makes sense. I think like a common thread amongst like most of the discussion so far is the fact that like we are all in a platform where we have to unfortunately chase views, especially for people like JianHao, who like people's rice bowl depend on him. So he can't just end up doing whatever the hell he wants and like not pay his employees. So but I think that's where like most of the contention comes in, is that a lot of people think that YouTubers should do what is artsy or do what is like good art, but more often than not, what's good art and what is popular art is like almost at like a conflict. So
Yeah, it is.
I just want to ask you like personally, what is that balance for you? Like how important is it to
Okay.
like do good art and like at the same time be popular, and like how do you strike that balance for your own channel?
Okay, firstly, I think we must all realize that we are slaves to YouTube's algorithm. This algorithm changes, and for us to succeed in this tough place, right? You gotta really understand the algorithm of this thing to succeed, really, because it's tough. It changes sometimes, and you can create a masterpiece, but no one may watch it simply because you're not following their algorithm. Um, so I that's one thing I try. But when you tell me about finding creating art forms, right? Firstly, in my defense, I would say that our videos really have improved as time goes by.
Mm-hmm.
And if I mean, I would tell a lot of the people who gave me that criticism that YouTubers make all the same videos, go watch 1 or 2 of my videos, and I can almost promise you won't hate it. And a lot of people are judging it based on the title. It's like judging a book by its cover, you know. They're judging my videos by its title. But aside from that, I mean, let me just share a reality with you on whether what I prioritize, whether is it improvement of an art form or continue creating the same form of content,
Mm.
or I would like to say following my own genre, which is, I mean, look, we have 39 employees in Titan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And imagine a time like this. And I mean, I'll tell you guys this because I like you guys. Uh, Personally, I told all my all my stuff. I said, guys, look, this is a bad time, a bad economy. We're gonna be stuck in 1 month. For sure, it's gonna extend. You know, a lot of people are gonna lose their jobs, and I'm gonna promise you that no matter what, you guys won't lose their jobs. No matter what, none of you are gonna get a pay cut. if I have to, I will take it out of my own pocket. But we gotta continue creating content. No matter what, we can't stop. We have to continue keeping our fans happy during this time, and we can't give up. It's gonna be hard, but we're all in this together. And that's what I told my audience. I told my staff. And during this time, it's very difficult, right? So, if you put yourself in my position, right? 39 staff in a company goes up to about 6-digit payroll number, right?
Mhm.
What do you think would be more important, to think of a new art form, or to ensure that my team survives in this harsh world, or to ensure that we thrive?
Mm.
And some may say, okay, JianHao puts business before content creation. Or there will be arguments. A lot of people will argue he's a creator first, he's a businessman first. I personally would say I'm a leader first. It doesn't matter what comes first, as long as I make my team happy, and as long as I make the fans happy, all is good.
Okay.
So
I
that is
think
my
I think
priority.
there's something you said there that's like really really important, and that like you recognize that making your audience happy, and especially during a difficult time, extra happy is something that is very very
Yeah.
very important. And this is something that I really respect, because I understand that like as a fellow creator myself, right, this is definitely a very very difficult time, but also a time for us to like potentially come up with new ways to keep our audience engaged, right?
Yeah.
And it's great that like having like a format that you fall back on, and a way to keep the fans coming in. And I think that's a fantastic business move that you have there, that like I think
Yeah.
a lot of I don't know, maybe smaller creators do not consider this as much. And I think it's very easy for audience members to forget this. And you bringing that number of 39 people, bringing that number
Yeah.
in, right, is something that really puts things into perspectives. Because like 39 people are not standalone people. They have families attached to them. They have loved ones attached to them. And
Families,
this is,
they need their jobs. During
yeah,
this time,
and this
people
is
are going to
something
lose
that
their
you
job.
have to consider.
Yeah.
Because you are no longer
Yeah.
just that one man holding a camera making the video.
Right. But at the same time, right, I'm not gonna use that like as an excuse and say this is why I don't try new things out. I do try new things out, right? I
Okay.
do have a podcast. I have family vlogs that we're doing. We try a lot of forms, and if you actually study it, right, you will realize that as a creator, I do more different forms of content than most content creator out there. So the criticism is actually quite ironic to say that JianHao does the same content, because I cannot find a content creator in Singapore that's involved in more different forms of content than myself.
Okay. That's okay. That's true. Because he has a lot of other channels that I think a lot of people don't see, or like it's not what immediately comes to mind. Because what immediately comes to mind is the class T1, T5, and like all the types of students video, and that's like what's everyone like basing their. I would say their. a lot
Maybe
of
because
videos
it's
on.
also one of the most recognizable channels, because it's
It
literally his
is.
name.
It is.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is my name, yeah. and by the way, I'd love if you guys would disagree on anything, and then just share with me your opinion, because I'd love to hear that as well.
Yeah.
But basically that is really that's really how I feel. And yes, our main channel videos, the types of videos gets a significant amount of more viewership, and that viewership also happens to come from overseas. So I know you guys had a conversation about how about K-pop, and how Singaporeans can consume American content, but Americans can't consume our content, right?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I have more American audiences than Singaporean audiences.
Ah.
And that's one of the craziest statistics that it's in my analytics. And I will show it to you. I will show it to you after this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna put it out there for our people who are viewing. Okay, firstly, we encourage y'all to offer us new perspectives. If you have something that you want to
Yeah.
ask any three of us, right, please go ahead and comment so that we can understand a little bit better. But at the same time, I encourage y'all to be positive lah. Y'all don't just like, wow, we invite him here, then his name down here, then suddenly y'all got a lot of things to say, then y'all say all nasty things or nice things. Don't just say nice things, don't just say nasty
I'm
things.
sure
Give
they
us
won't.
logical things.
I think our audience are a pretty sensible group. Anyways, like the whole reason why I have like just to preface everything, I'm not a fan of JianHao. I don't particularly enjoy his content, but it's just maybe because it's not for me. And the stuff I do versus the
Sure.
stuff he do is just like worlds apart, and I just like never really got into his content. But at the same time, I feel like if you cannot challenge your opinions, then your opinions are not worth holding on to. Which is why I don't
Mhm.
mind him having him on here and like actually listening to what goes on behind a very successful YouTuber. Because I mean, I can say
Yeah.
whatever I want now, but I only have like 2,000 subscribers. So like, what do I know? You know. So I think
I mean, he must be doing something right, right? And like I honestly I firmly believe like the reason we have him here, if you are not, if like the people who are trying to say that, oh, there's something wrong with YouTube scene or whatever, and you're not trying to find out what he's doing right, then obviously you're not stepping forward,
Yeah.
because there
Yeah.
must be something that's happening right. And if you do want to change that, in fact, it will be to everyone's benefit if we all tried it together.
I mean, I also want to say one thing, which is this criticism, right? Even though it does seem loud, and even though I kind of blew it up by tweeting about it, right? Firstly, it's a small group of people. I don't want to. I mean, I may have accidentally done this, but I don't want to make it sound like the whole world thinks like this, because it doesn't. It's a certain group of people, a certain group that consumes different content as well, or maybe don't even consume content. So it's also really unfair for me to keep addressing this, because I have amazing fans. I have great support, not just fans, but people in the industry who enjoy my work, who enjoy what I'm doing. So to always address this also a bit unfair to them lah.
Mm-mm-mm.
Mm.
Okay, so
Okay.
actually, one of the questions we actually have for you next was something that you answered earlier, which is whether you consider yourself more of a businessman or a creative, right? And I think you brought out an
Mm-hmm.
interesting point about being a leader, and I think this is something that
Mm-hmm.
people don't typically, excuse me, people don't typically experience about you, especially because they see your work, right? They don't necessarily see that side of you. Would you like to share a little bit more, right, in terms of having to run this team, right? What are some of the challenges that you encounter that may fly under the radar?
Wow. Um, well, I guess the reason that people would never see that side of me is also because they will never get a chance to see it, right? They will never
Mm.
get a chance to see me behind the scenes. And even though we do behind the scenes, most of the time I don't get a chance to really show. I still have to do work with someone else filming it, but they won't get the chance to see how I interact with my team, or how I bounce ideas around, or how we plan stuff. So by just watching me on screen, it's easy to dehumanize me. You know,
Dehumanize. Ah.
yeah, dehumanize me. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I guess that's a lot of where this whole thing comes from. But yeah. Uh, what were we talking about again?
No, it's okay. No, because like no, what you mentioned about sharing about being a leader, especially because you
Mm,
run Titan Media, right? So
yeah.
this is some maybe we summarize it to one sentence. You want to encourage fans to do to understand their favorite creators better. What would be one thing you want to encourage the fans to do? Not necessarily you. It could be another creator that they respect, but remember to not dehumanize them or something like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Don't dehumanize. I can't say the word. Yeah.
Okay, I get what you
But
mean.
I mean, okay, you guys saw my latest video, right? The one where I responded to all of this.
Yeah.
I feel like generally the it is in our culture to bring creators down.
Okay.
Do you guys feel that? Do you feel that in Singapore there is a high level of cultural cringe which you may not see in other places? And this is also something that I spoke to with Ming about just now in his podcast. Um, I feel that it's very strange here that people are quite reluctant to support local talent.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think
Yeah.
it's there's this culture in Singapore whereby it's a very unspoken thing, but people like to see it when quote unquote influencers fall. and like
Yes.
they like to see the downfall of people who are in prominent places, be it on a social platform or on like a real life platform. And
Yeah.
I think like a lot of times this is very unfair because like they sort of piggyback on each other's opinions and it eventually just becomes a whole thing altogether
Yeah.
without much understanding. And yeah, I agree, you know,
I
and
mean,
like it's very unfortunate, but I don't see it changing anytime soon also lah.
but that's exactly how this blew up, you see. One person with the cultural cringe, and then the next person experiencing, like I said, Schadenfreude. Everyone enjoys seeing somebody fall, and then on top of it all, the media comes in, reports on it. You know, certain news outlets talk about it. There was even one, I mean, ridiculous by, I think it was Clio. Um, 18 scandals revolving Singaporean influencers, something like this.
Yeah, I
And
saw
this
it.
was inside. And I was like, you call this a scandal? I mean, do you even know what a scandal is? I mean, this is even worth reporting. I mean, what does that say about you?
Okay.
About your organization? But of course, I understand because they need to write stuff to get views. They have a boss to answer to. Sure, I understand. This is the harsh reality of our world. This is the harsh reality of the sociology of all our people. Sadly, this is how things work. And hopefully, by my video, if people can watch it and understand where I was coming from, it's really that I understand this. I understand where this comes from. I understand why people will feel like this. But don't you think that we should all change and support each other? I mean, in Singapore, right? It. I mean, out of all this, who would win by, let's say, JianHao's downfall? Competitors, media, they win.
Mhm.
Why?
Is-
We are in the same industry.
Yeah.
We fight for the same clients. But being in this industry, I've realized that there is enough for everyone to share. It's more than enough.
Okay.
But with this mindset, right? They're just so deep into the whole competitiveness of everything. Like, I'm not even trying to compete with anyone. I'm not. I'm in my own competition with myself. I'm constantly trying to improve. I'm trying to top myself every single time. But everyone else, okay lah, not everyone else. Some others will have, and it's not their choice also. It's just the reality of our world.
Mhm.
And that's something that hope people can realize. Just get themselves out of that mode and realize that it doesn't have to be like this. Yeah,
Actually, you
like
mentioned something
I can
very
tell you.
interesting just now.
Uh-huh.
You know, when you mentioned about how people like we were discussing about how people are very interested in seeing the downfall of prominent people,
Mhm.
right? And you mentioned how
Mhm.
certain media outlets covered this, right? In a very, I mean, to me, in a very strange twist of ironic fate, right? Isn't this also doing the same thing again, trying to pander to what is popular, which is currently,
Of
unfortunately, in
course.
Singapore's culture,
I mean,
watching
that's
people's
the.
fall.
Mm.
I mean,
That's
you
why
guys
something like
doing
this
a
can even
podcast
become
is.
a scandal.
Yeah, I mean, you guys doing a podcast of this is also. I mean, I'm sure that's the reason, right? Because it's something popular. People are talking about it. That's just the reality of the media.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think like John. Okay, I won't say like for me. I think we touched on like hate and like about like Schadenfreude and like people wanting to see influencers fall. I don't know whether it's because I'm like too small, but so far everyone's been very supportive. But I think
Okay.
like I'll
Let me
defer
share.
this
Let
to
me share
John.
the. Let me share something. Schadenfreude, this experience, it also has to deal with supporting the underdog. You see, I realized that Singaporeans love to support an underdog.
Yeah.
So what people, okay, maybe not just Singaporeans, people in general, they will pitch, like, let's say, pitch creators against each other. You know, even though we may not be competitors, but if we're doing similar, or even in the similar industry, people will say things like NOC is better, or JianHao is better, and obviously that creates animosity. And let's say if there is a smaller YouTuber, right? They will say that, oh, this YouTuber is better. This YouTuber deserves more views. Why does this YouTuber only get like 10,000 views while JianHao gets 10 million views? This YouTuber is so underrated, JianHao doesn't deserve this. JianHao should go down and this YouTuber should go up. And that is that I mean, how childish. But at the same time, That's what it is.
Okay, that's true. I think the underdog
Why
thing is
can't
actually
all
cool.
why can't all creators just lift each other up? And honestly, just because I don't collaborate with one certain creator does not mean that I hate them or I want to see them die. I want to see all of them thrive. You know?
Okay.
So I
Awesome.
just want to ask because like you
Okay.
know I based on what I'm getting here today, okay, something that's a little bit off from what we have prepared. Okay. I want to ask you in your own personal opinion. I want you to give me a personal answer that is not you know. Are you jaded by the Singapore YouTube community, and I mean maybe the Singapore viewership community in general?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. 100% jaded.
Then what is the
Hurt.
top thing on your list that you would like that you wish in an ideal world, right, would change?
I wish they would support Singaporean creators. I really wish that. And it's not about me anymore because I feel like I've passed that. Uh in a not trying to even humble brag, but I have achieved a certain level of success that I do not need to make basically I do not need to please everyone.
Mm-mm.
That's the truth. I do not need to please everyone. But the reason I made my last video is because if I can voice this out and if people can realize this, then hopefully in the future any creator will be able to create what they want with with a more open mindset and not being so scared of people, not being so scared of making mistakes. Obviously you have to make mistakes um to learn, right?
Yes.
But I feel like the creator scene in Singapore, they're so scared, they're so jaded. If you don't start your first video with something big, with something awesome, with high production, then the mindset here is if you don't do that, you're not gonna go further. Which is why a lot of creators don't do it. And the ones who do, they feel like okay, they need to get all the equipment. If they can't do their own production, they need to hire a production crew. They can't just stand in front of camera and create content anymore. And sadly, that's how it's happening. And even you go out, I mean, it is indeed our culture. You go onto the train, right, or go anywhere. Firstly, they don't let you shoot anything in Singapore. Literally, almost anywhere, businesses or anywhere, no one is supportive of creators.
Okay.
You know that?
So like,
Mm.
what's some
Um,
personal experience about that?
how difficult is it to just go to somewhere and say, can we shoot? No, must get approval, security guard coming in, get mall approval, how many days approval. I mean, I'm so sick of that word approval, you know. Um I mean, for us, right, now I'm so sick of like having to find approval. I just build something. But what about the other creators? How are they gonna get these resources, right?
Yes.
Firstly, there's that. Then second, they go somewhere, they hold a camera, people judge. People judge and like, oh, what this guy doing? What this guy think he what was he trying to do? Huh? Who do you think you are? Holding a camera, you think you're famous? You know, people will say stuff like that. And it's very sad. And then you will never see people grow unless you have approval, unless you have big ass production crew, unless someone holding a boom mic. How many cameras? Then people be like, wow, oh, so cool. Come. Oh, this is sickening kind of attitude, but it happens. And I guess basically we're not used to it. We're not used to it. We're not used to this. So
Like, okay, so
yeah.
like personally,
But
I yeah, definitely agree. Like, cause I try to do short films, and a lot of times, even when I want to shoot short films, a lot of the locations I have to think beforehand and go like, okay, I definitely cannot shoot in a mall. I definitely cannot do this.
Yeah.
you can.
I definitely cannot do that. So guess what? The story gets compromised because sometimes maybe you need it to be in a mall. Who knows? So like,
Yes.
Yeah.
there's
Yeah. And which is why it's so difficult. Short films. Short films is so difficult. Really. Or to even do something general to I don't know. I guess right. People are also afraid that you will make something look bad or you will make their business look bad,
Yeah.
and they don't want, and hence they don't want to associate themselves with you. People also get a bad impression of YouTubers, and which is not necessarily true or which is not necessarily deserved, but there is a certain stigma to a YouTuber because of the well, I mean, look at the news, right? You search YouTuber, often the narrative is something not nice or something about how much they are earning.
I think like John and I actually talked a little bit about this point in like the previous podcast. So if you haven't seen it, you can definitely go and check it out. But
Okay.
to summarize, we basically said that like a large part of the Singapore YouTube community is not just the YouTubers, it's the viewers, it's the consumers, and it's society. Because like whatever you guys put on like the top right will be what is the popular trend, and whatever you guys appreciate will be what the creators will end up doing. But so like
Exactly.
technically speaking, the fact that we are not improving is like almost like a mirror to like how society is as well, especially in Singapore. There's like a little bit less like
But that's not a fair statement. I
Okay.
think we are improving.
in how
I think we
how
are
so?
improving. I see a lot more creators.
Okay.
Uh, there are significantly more creators than when I first started.
Mm.
When I first started, it was all I knew was myself, NOC, Dikosh, and Eden Ang, Wa Banana. Yeah, at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I-
but now there's a lot more. There's a lot more variety. But let me tell you, most of them are also struggling because of firstly, our market is not a great market.
Too small?
Often it's too small. I mean, our population is too small.
Okay.
That's why for me it makes sense to go to appeal on a global stage. Not just numbers, but also in terms of ad revenue. It really is much easier overseas.
Yes.
But I mean, in Singapore, right, it's hard to start from nothing.
It is. It is.
And if you don't have a company backing you up, or you don't have any if you don't already have a team, it's really difficult to compete. And the thing about this place is everyone's competing. There's not much support. There's not much of a community here. Everyone is just trying to compete, you know. And the only time where you see real collaboration, no, I wouldn't even call it real, because most of it is it stems from some government fund, some government campaign. You know,
Okay.
I'm really not gonna name anything, because I mean we're all just trying to survive.
Mm.
But the truth is, how often does a creator step up and say, "Let's collaborate. I'm down for this."
Okay.
It really is not often, unless someone comes in and say, "Hey, we're gonna sponsor this video. Bam, here's some money, and for this campaign, our client would also like to have X creator, Y creator, Z creator. Can you make it happen?" Then of course you can make it happen. Right? But what kind of a community do we have right now? Not a big one. And that, for me, that's the reason why I try to build my own community, which is why we have so many channels under one company. Because like you said, I am quite jaded by the past few years and what happened. And there has also been a lot of stuff that's gone behind the scenes. And generally, yeah, is very competitive, not just between people, but the audience also sort of stems into at that competitiveness. So yeah.
Okay.
So I think YouTube has more or less become a place that is not just for creation. You know, it has more or less become a marketplace, and this has definitely contributed, you know, to what you mentioned about competition and, you know, making it a difficult place for people who just want to make things.
Yeah. But at the same time, there's any industry, right? That's
That's
almost
true.
any industry, right? Right.
I guess that's the
so I mean,
give and take, right? As something
Yeah.
grows into more industrious, right? We lose that old town essence that used to make it interesting, you know. So I guess, you know, that's a little bit of an impasse, but definitely, you know, there's definitely some things that we can do about it, lah. But like, I mean, there's another topic for another time, I believe.
I think we
Yeah.
can go on to the next question. I think this is a rather like rough question to ask, but I think it's very. I would like to know your opinion about this. Like from a third person's point of view, right? Like you yourself looking at your own content, are you a fan of your own content? Like, would you watch it personally?
Okay. Personally, I, I, a good, very, very good question. And I don't watch my own content after 2 months because I see a past. Okay, I am very harsh and critical on myself.
Okay.
Like maybe people won't see it, right? But I am so critical on myself. It's almost unfair to. I know it's unfair to myself, and which is why I am a very stressed out person.
Mm.
Which sometimes it can bring me to quite a tough mental state.
Mm-mm.
But there are time. I mean, there are times where I see myself on camera and I'm like, guys, just turn it off. Stop watching. Stop watching our old videos. Not because I hate it. Not because I don't like it, or not because I feel that it isn't good enough,
Okay.
but because I feel like I can do better. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
You guys must understand one thing, right? F- f- to create content on a weekly basis and every single year is so difficult. A lot of the reason for where I am today is because of the consistency. Sometimes you talk about quality or quantity, right? Um, there needs to be a mixture of both.
Mm-mm.
There has to be. You give me 1 year, I don't make any video. I will make a damn amazing piece of master art.
Okay.
But because I have to create videos every week,
Mhm.
I don't have the luxury of time, of resources to do that.
Mm.
So a lot of times I give myself a deadline and I tell myself that if I let's say right this let's say I need a video by Sunday. By Tuesday, if I can't come up with a brilliant idea, I'm just gonna choose something, stick to it, and do whatever I need to do. And then we can do something brilliant next week because we do videos every single week.
Mm.
You know how the frequency is so much that there has to be a balance between quality and quantity. Yeah. But I mean if you give me like yeah. And to me, right, the important thing here is my dedication to our audience.
Okay.
It's not I'm not making videos for myself here,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah.
I'm also not making videos for the critiques.
Mm.
I'm not here to prove anyone wrong. And I don't need to prove anyone wrong, right? I mean, I'm just here to make videos for the people who love my videos. And oftentimes, in fact, 99% of the time, if you ask my viewers, would you rather JianHao continue every single week or you give him a few months off and he creates one very nice different video? I think you guys know the answer, right?
Yeah.
They rather say every single week. In fact, I already get stuff like, I don't care if you have to just vlog or just shoot yourself talking in front of a camera with a phone. I want that. And that happens when I don't upload for 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Mm.
So I know my audience, and I think it's important for every creator to do what your audience loves.
I think there's
I think the
one.
connection
Yeah.
sorry, I think the connection is very important for me, and which is why the reason I started this, and it's also how I built such a strong audience, loyal audience, is because that we put them first.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think there's like one there's this one person who does like basically he does illustrations and renders every day. He does it daily, and he has been doing it for the last 12 years. I remember there's one video that I made that I saw that he made. Basically he is going through his process and he said something along the lines of like, I don't view the end product as the dailies. I do the end product as the fact that I did it for 12 years. So my art is the 12 years accumulation of everything I've done for every day. It's not the individual daily stuff. So he doesn't really care too much whether the individual stuff is bad. He just wants it out. And I think there's
Brilliant
like
example. Brilliant example. Yeah.
yeah, and I think like it's a lot of people like underestimate how difficult it is to come out with a weekly video. Like even for me, I do a podcast with like minimal editing already, right? Coming with a video every week, right, stresses me out. And because I also at school and like
Yeah.
it's so stressful, like having to
For sure.
ideate, having to get
Yeah.
John on and like being able to like edit in
Mhm.
time for the Tuesday release. So like
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine coordinating, right? I mean, our series coordinate. You see other YouTube channels, right? They don't do this. We have over 20 people, 20 cast people in a 10-minute video. And these people have schools, they have jobs. Not all our talents are in-house or full-time. Some are, but majority are not. They have their own lives to live. So to coordinate that is very difficult. And also, right, if you realize a lot of times their screen time is only like less than 30 seconds, but they have to make their time to come, and the shoot is one whole day. I mean, the returns, the effort and returns doesn't really make too much sense for them every single time, right? But they still do it, which is something I appreciate. The dedication of the talents, the team is so high, which is I mean, you have school. I have a daughter. I have I have a lot of boring business meetings that I don't want to do, but as a CEO, I have to do it. So yeah, it's difficult, but I appreciate my position, and indeed you are right. To judge me based on one video, maybe it would be unfair. I think my work is indeed really an accumulated work of everything, and also how my channel gave birth to so many different channels. I think I'm really proud of that, because the amount of teams I've built, the jobs I've given, and the small community that I've built in Titan it's something that I really treasure.
And rightly so, and rightly so. I feel that it is perfectly right that you're proud. You should be proud of all these achievements as well, lah. And like I strongly encourage, especially because I agree with everything that we're talking about, and I strongly encourage our viewers, especially, whenever you watch anyone for that matter, okay, I encourage you to go and find out a little bit more in and think deeper on how this end product became the end product, just to understand and empathize a little bit more, because you don't necessarily have to be a creator to understand how
Correct.
what labels are, and this will give you a better insight into what people do and help you understand the end product better. It's like how sometimes I get excited as a video content creator. When I go to the movie, I'll be like, hey, this is a fantastic scene, and I understand how difficult it goes and I appreciate it a little bit more. So if you're able to see, for example, the
Of course.
storytelling, the camera work, and all that kind of thing, and then you try to watch something that people create, maybe the first thing that comes into your head might not be criticism. It might be like, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for example, right? I mean, just because you use the Apple example in your podcast, let's say Apple, maybe iPhone 11, iPhone 12, it may just be a phone. It may look like the past version, slightly different, but can you? Is it fair to say that Apple makes the same stuff? Is it fair to say that Apple should not make iPhones anymore, and because it's stale, like how some of the news outlet call it stale, and let's make some smart spoons instead? Do you think that's I mean, this is a bit weird, right? So yeah, the iPhone should be judged on the last 12 to 15 years of research, mistakes, and things in technology, and how technology has grown. Similar to this. I mean, it's a very strange but parallel example.
I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense actually, because like technology especially is the best way. It's also, I feel, another place whereby there are like a lot of haters because people like to take camps, and then it gets a little bit like funny
Yes.
and weird, and I don't really get that, because I'm not a tech fan, but like it gets really strange and
Yeah,
weird,
correct.
and then like it gets very, very unfair,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
it
yeah.
feels like people start to get emotional about things that don't really matter, and I cannot understand, and then people like to argue and they get upset, and then after that you cannot deny numbers, right? You talk about you argue. In the
Yeah.
end, the numbers do not lie.
And the thing is, right, most people can only have one phone. They only have one phone. It's either Apple or Android, right? But who is to say that if you watch one creator, you can't watch another creator? So why is there such competitiveness, or why is there such heat in this whole thing? We should all like learn to love each other, love our community, so that it can grow, and then support each other.
And I think the viewers, the viewers especially, sometimes we forget, how important it is, when we contribute as viewers as well, and like being people who criticize constructively, right, as compared to people who just comment on something and then just this thing sucks. it does not add any value to the community that you are such a big part of as well. And it's just not fair to
Yeah.
yourself because you just go there and then you just complain. It's like an old person going to a fruit store complaining the fruit sour, but they don't tell the store owner.
Yeah, but like as much as I will say, I already said this. As much as I'm not a fan of JianHao's content. I do respect him a lot as like a creator and like as like someone that
Thank
grew
you.
a lot. And I think that
Thank
like
you.
as much as I'm
Thank you.
trying,
I appreciate that.
as much as I'm trying very hard to grow bigger and hopefully maybe change the game and like maybe hopefully change the way Singaporeans consume their content. Like as of now, I have a lot. I understand that I have a lot to learn, and there's a lot to learn from him, and that's something you cannot deny. And having said that, I think we are coming to the end of our 1 hour podcast. I think, is there any other final thoughts from the both of you?
No, actually, I just realized we have something good going here, and I just want to ask JianHao especially.
Sure.
Firstly, thank you so much for being here with us, and I want you to after all, this is an initiative that was started by Alistair, okay, and I mean, for someone who has been in the scene for so long, I want you to advise my friend here. If you had to give him one piece of advice, okay, what's one thing, maybe not
Mm.
just for him, but for any small creator that is like hoping to eventually grow into something that people will like? Because I believe, and at the bottom line, for all of us, when we create content, we just want people to like our things. What is one piece of advice you will want to give a small creator like us, like him?
Okay. I would say find what works for you and stick to it, and don't care what people say. Just stick to it because if it works, there's a reason it works,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
So find what works for you and stick to it. I I I must admit that I have experimented with tons of content in the past, and some may have worked, some may not have worked, and it took me about 5 years of being on this platform to finally find my style, to create my own genre, to find something that the audience will consistently stay here for, and it really took me a while, and 5 years of just trying things out, trying things that would go viral. It a lot of times it's really a lot of effort and it didn't work out.
Mm,
So find what works for you, especially if you are in the beginnings of your content creation journey.
yeah.
I would say experiment more.
Mm,
And experimenting is a luxury that you will eventually lose once your channel gets big, and that's it's very hard to disagree with me on that,
mm,
because a lot of creators have subscribers that will subscribe to them for one type of content,
yeah.
and the moment you change, the moment you do something else, they would say you no longer do what they subscribe to you for.
Like it flops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not even if it flops, If I mean, I imagine this. I mean, it's almost impossible. But imagine if I make an emotional short film every single week after this. I'm gonna have, out of these 4 million subscribers, a lot of them are gonna say, I'm not here for this emotional stuff. I'm not here for this artsy stuff. All I want is just something that can brighten my mood, that I can relate to. Where is that? I'm gonna unsubscribe. And I do get that, every time I change, we do reinvent ourselves contrary to popular belief. So when we do that, you can see I follow the analytics every single day. I will see a drop.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think being consistent is good only once you found your style.
Mm.
And that's why I created a lot of channels as well. If you notice, right, channels which do just one type of content, strangely enough, are the channels that grow.
Mm,
I mean,
yeah.
especially for example, you are a gamer, right?
Yes.
John.
Yes.
So if you notice gaming channels, right, a lot of those gaming channels that grow so fast are the channels that play only one game and they keep playing it.
Yes.
Right?
I get it.
So there is some truth to this.
Mm,
So I guess, and for example, right, I recently started my second channel, or the family channel. So that it has become a platform that I really enjoy experimenting, or I really enjoy reconnecting with my fans, which is something that I didn't really have over the past maybe 1 or 2 years, because I have this pressure on myself to have such heavily well produced, well scripted content on the main channel, that if I were to upload something simple, it just doesn't do the job for me. I just don't feel I just don't feel that that channel deserves something new, or something experimental. So I do that on my new channel, and I must say it's quite enjoyable as a creator to connect. I think for me the whole my main thing is to connect with the audience.
Okay.
For others, perhaps it's exploring forms of art. Perhaps for you, it's telling a story,
Yeah.
Alistair.
Mhm.
But for me, it's mainly really just connecting with the fans.
I think that's a nice way to end it, right? That's a nice sentiment to
Yes,
end it on.
absolutely. Yes. So like, I mean, just a final word to everyone else, who's watching. I think this is very, very important. Whenever you watch, you must also try to understand the intention of what the creator is trying to do. And I think this, yeah, indeed, is a great way to end it.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. And if you want more
Yes.
content, just comment down below. Any questions, I actually answer every single comment. So you guys go and comment, and I'll answer you guys as well.
Yes, and I mean, if you have suggestions for people who you want to see us, talk to next, and to find out a little bit more about the people behind what you see, right, or whatever, whoever they can be. I mean, if you want to shout out PM Lee, please go ahead. It'll be great if we can talk to PM Lee. But yeah, I mean, it's been a privilege. Thank you so much, JianHao, for
Thank you
joining
so
us today.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thanks so much, guys.
Stay safe during circuit breaker.
Bye.